Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I'm going to be interviewing an actor who I saw in a play 3 years ago, the first time I came to LA in adulthood. I went to go see Kelly Maroney perform in this play called Random Acts, and I saw this actor. His name is Paul Lauden. I saw him play all these different characters because it was like all these like unrelated plays. It was called Random Acts, and so he played this one character that stood out. He played like an idiot man-child, and he was so funny and so poignant in this show that I friended him on Facebook afterwards. I couldn't talk to him after the show because he was being overwhelmed with people coming to talk to him and stuff. So I'm having him on the podcast today. Because not only is he an interesting actor, I also found out that he's also a cancer survivor, and I want to get into that. And he's also a former stand-up comedian, and he started in the Bay Area long before I did. And I want to find out a lot about that and what made him quit comedy and why he's stuck with acting and stuff. And I think it's going to be a pretty interesting show. So yeah, here is my interview with Paul Lauden. Hi, Paul.
Yo, Tommy boy.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's storming over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy because I'm in LA. We're actually having a cold front. But I'm sure it's nothing compared to what you have.
You're having a what?
A little cold front here in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure it's nothing compared to what you got going on over there.
Oh yeah, I mean there's wind blowing, there's rain coming down. It's pretty bad over here.
Our weather challenges consist of not being able to wear shorts today.
Yeah. That's definitely true.
Bad as it gets.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I saw you 3 years ago in the play Random Acts, and I was in LA for 8 days. I planned every day of what I was going to do while I was there and stuff, and I went to the horror convention Monsterpalooza to meet Kelly Maroney, and I told her I was going to go see her in Random Acts. She didn't actually believe me that I was going to show up because I thought she thought that I was like any fan who meets her at a convention and says, "Yeah, I'm going to do this," and then never show up. But I actually did, and and I saw you play different characters. And the one that stood out to me was the man-child that you played.
Yeah, that was from a script called Unfiltered. And I played the character of Brandon, who is a high-functioning autistic man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not too dissimilar to some of the characters that are now being portrayed on television because it's such a common situation now. But yeah, that was my favorite as well, man.
Yeah, I was just laughing a lot because I have Asperger's syndrome and I was in special ed in school, and so I was around guys like that a lot. And heck, I probably even was one of those guys at one point and didn't even know it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where oftentimes when people behave what is considered different than the norm,
mm-hmm.
They're not aware of it because for them, it is the norm. It's just who they are. In fact, we all have little habits and behaviors and things that we do that we're just not aware of because it's just who we are.
Yeah, exactly. And, everybody, especially when they're young, they have trouble, figuring out who they are. And then when they do, they think once they realize it, they're like, what was I so insecure about, so worried about? If people don't like me, fuck them,
Yeah. It's funny because a long while ago, I think it was I'm going to say 94, 95, I read a book about dyslexia, and that was much earlier than people even knew of autism. I don't even think it was in the conversation and regular everyday culture, but certainly dyslexia was. And one of the things I got from that, which was fascinating, is that at that time, the details were that approximately 90% of inventors have some form of dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would see things that don't exist, not really being aware that they don't exist, or that they are difficult to create, but then they would just go and create them.
Mm-hmm.
So in their brain, they could see them, and how they function and how they work, even though they didn't quite. And they would just go and make them, and there's a massive amount of information about that. And now we're finding out similar situations with people who have different ways of learning and different ways of thinking, their mind, how it functions differently.
Yeah, my mother has a little bit of dyslexia. She's the worst speller I have ever met in my life, and I'm a pretty damn good speller. I don't know if I'm the best, but I'm a pretty damn good speller, and like I'm always like getting text messages from her, and I'm like, Mom, you're supposed to spell it like this, you know?
Yeah, because their brain sees things in a different order, whereas we might see A plus B equals C. They'll envision it, I have B, I don't need A because I already understand C.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different way of processing information, a different way of envisioning the end, and it's not necessarily in the order that most people would perceive it as beginning, middle, and end.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the spelling is often backwards. A 2 would be backwards, a C would be backwards, or a D and a B are indistinguishable, or different ways of perceiving, because the mind doesn't work in that traditional order of A, B, C, or beginning, middle, and end.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah. So, going back to the beginning, though, was acting something on your radar early on?
Well, it's interesting. My mother did community theater and things like that, and I was always around it. I wasn't interested in acting because when I was a kid, it was more fun for me to build stuff and use my hands and work on sets and paint and put together costumes and actually create something. Because when I was young, I didn't see acting, meaning memorizing words and repeating them, as something creative. I thought it was just a process of almost like reading, which wasn't creative. And so I preferred to do stuff and get my hands dirty and have my hands on things and put things together. So I never actually thought of acting. I only thought of the process of creating, and I didn't actually consider acting as a part of that process. But clearly I was young, 7, 8, 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know all that much as a kid. So no, I wasn't really interested in any type of performing until later when I realized that performing was part of the creative process.
Ah, I see. Did you start off doing plays in school and then later community theater?
Not really, no. I did a few little things in my mother's play. I played. I did something at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego when I was 9 years old, but that was only by accident. They were having auditions for a play, and I wasn't even interested. I just happened to be there, and they asked me to audition, and the child had to be in crutches, and I just happened to be in crutches at the time. So when I did the audition in those crutches, they thought, wow, this kid's an amazing actor. He really looks like he's on crutches. Well, I would have, and I got the part. And I don't remember it. I don't know if I was good or bad. I just remember the smell of the theater. I had my own room, and they put M&Ms in there. I had my own, dressing room with a star on it, my name, and I just thought that was fun and cool.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I never approached or took serious or even attempted to do any form of acting. I preferred just to play sports.
Mm-hmm. What sports did you play?
Pretty much everything that I could, except anything that required, any type of real heavy physical contact. Like I didn't play football. I just played flag football, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Had a leg injury. But it wasn't until after high school when I had an unusual, unexpected, non-contact or non-sports related injury did I stumble onto performing or anything like that. I had anticipated just playing basketball because that's all I wanted to do. That was my only focus. That's where I saw my future. And when I woke up and I had this injury in my rhomboid, which I call the chicken wing, it's under the wing in the back of your back. And I just happened to be chatting with someone that I played basketball against in high school. And this person thought I was funny, and I was making jokes and asked me if I wanted to do stand-up. And within a very short period of time, that became my job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it happened. Crazy, huh?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. Yeah, I started doing stand-up in San Francisco in 2006. What year did you start?
87.
Wow, 87. Wow. Okay, so that was like around the time Laurie Kilmartin started.
Yeah, basically, instead of playing basketball in college and doing that and going the route of sports or athletics, I went into comedy, and I just happened to get lucky that there was a booker in San Diego that had opened up in restaurants. So in the back of restaurants, they created a performance space. So I was very fortunate that I was able to do 6 or 7 nights a week, anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes. And within about 2 years' time, I was able to develop a solid enough act that I could go on the road and be a middle act, not an opener or an MC. That wasn't my thing as an MC, but as a middle act, and started touring and going on the road and making money and developing a sense of what it was to be a touring stand-up comic. Not a headliner, but a middle act.
Mm-hmm.
It was a blast.
Who was there in San Francisco when you started?
Well, when I was actually in San Diego until 1990, and then when I got to San Francisco, mainly there were people working out at the Punchline,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the Punchline comedy competition every year, but I really didn't do a lot of shows in San Francisco because that was already an established community.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few other gigs around town, but mainly I just got booked to go on the road from the Bay Area because the booker that opened up in San Diego had gigs all throughout the area outside of San Francisco, and even toward Utah, Idaho, Las Vegas, a couple of cruise ships and things of that nature. So I didn't do that much in San Francisco, the city itself, but more leaving the city. And, like, for example, I'd go to Santa Rosa for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And do, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe even a show on Sunday, or 2 shows on one of those nights, or a day and an evening. So that's where I did most of it. I did most of the stuff outside of the city.
Mm-hmm. And what was your style like?
Well, that's the thing. I was only 20 years old, so what I did was I really studied stand-up. I've read books. did a workshop book. I took classes. I studied. I took got old VHS copies of stand-ups, and I really did my best to do my homework. And so at least I could have the structure down. I didn't have a lot to offer as far as life experience in that sense, but my style, I would say, was more theatrical and performance-based rather than just traditional stand-up. So that's often why I was getting a lot of gigs, because I wasn't doing just a traditional stand-up. I was doing a lot of weird theatrical performance types of material.
Mm-hmm.
And it was enjoyable, it was unique, and it was different. And I think that's when I started to first feel like acting or performing was actually something that I could do, because it wasn't just telling jokes.
Mm-hmm.
That was my style, more creative. And sometimes, in fact, I never got booked on these cruise ships that I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Because, people were eating, and I would often do weird, kind of unusual stuff that the bookers didn't think would work while people were having their food. Nothing disgusting or gross, but I had pretty much a PG-13 act. In fact, I didn't use any bad language or bring up any controversial topics. So it was more theatrical and silly, but sometimes a little over the top that might not work for a generic audience, a general crowd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever enter any contests?
Well, I did in San Diego and a few other places. I entered 5 contests, and I placed a second or a third in all of them. I never quite won.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did win one, and I won a skiing trip, which I never went on to. But because my stand-up wasn't quite a traditional stand-up, I never really was selected as the best stand-up. I might have been entertaining or funny or unique. But as far as doing traditional stand-up, it wasn't quite in the genre, but kind of on the edge of the genre.
Mm-hmm.
I did do the San Francisco Punchline comedy competition.
Right.
But this was after I had decided to stop doing stand-up because it was too hard. I was on the San Francisco stage. I was in the cinema department. And, I'd go on the road for 2 to 3 weeks, and I'd have to tell all my teachers what I'm doing, and then I'd come back, and I'd have to catch up or study on the road. And it wasn't quite working. Comedy was sort of on a downturn because there had been an overexposure on television. And things that are live going on television, sort of like music. The difference between being in a small club, listening to a live performance, and just listening to it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of got a little oversaturated and lost its magic, and the gigs weren't as often. It wasn't paying as well. Some of the bookers stopped booking, went into other avenues. So I had actually decided to stop doing stand-up. And then the comedy competition came on, so I kind of brushed up and got refreshed and did a couple of gigs, and then I just bombed. I just bombed, which is funny because I've only bombed, but my definition of bombing is where I just know that I sucked, which is different than giving a really good performance in the audience is kind of lukewarm, you get some laughs. That's not a bomb. Bomb is where you're just downright awful, or the audience did not like you at all in any way.
Yeah.
An example of that is I once did a show for 4 people when I was on the road, and I did 35 minutes, and they were entertained, and they laughed, and it was funny, and they had a good time. To someone from the outside, they might think, oh, well, that was awful. He performed for 4 people, but no, it was pretty amazing. And then a few nights later, I performed for 800 people on the same stage as, headliners who ended up becoming recognizable household names. And I had a decent set in front of 800 people.
Mm-hmm.
But the 800 people and the 4 people, they were both still good shows. Very different, but they were good shows. But sign. I just bombed. It was just a disaster, and I knew it. And, you know, that was one of the 3 times that I can say over my 5-year performance record that it was a bomb. And I said, well, I think that's just a sign, because if one of the 3 times I bombed is in a competition to get back into this thing called stand-up, I think that's a sign I need to move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my act has always been X-rated, and so I haven't been welcomed in too many places doing my stand-up, but I'm gonna keep at it because that's where my strength is, you know. And the Bay Area, it's changed drastically since the days that you were doing it there. It's just full of, you know, alpha male jerks doing stand-up now, you know, after all the bars and coffee houses started jumping on the open mic bandwagon and getting open mics going and stuff. And then these guys, they get, you know, in at the punchline or the improv, and they abuse their power to bully other comedians and sexually harass the women comics and stuff. It's just really, really terrible now.
Yeah, the part that I enjoyed about doing stand-up was being in front of an audience and chatting with people and telling my jokes and having them really enjoy it. The part I didn't enjoy was the traveling sometimes, the late nights, smoky bars. In San Diego, there was a really supportive community. In San Francisco, there was also a very supportive community where the comics really gave each other a hand and really were there for each other. I like that. But, you know, sometimes the comics can be a little bit depressive.
Yep.
And sometimes they'll party a lot, and that wasn't my lifestyle, especially coming from, you know, playing basketball 8 hours a day, to going to hanging out in bars and drinking and things of that nature. It wasn't really my lifestyle. I think it conflicted with who I was in some ways. I just like to get up there, tell jokes, and go home. And so I kind of get what you're saying. Sometimes the environment isn't conducive for who you are as a person.
Yeah, I love the late nights. I prefer it. I don't like the lack of traveling. I love traveling, but, you know, no one ever took me on the road with them. And I don't like the bullying. And once it got really bad, after I came back the second time following my car accident, it seemed like things had gotten worse with the bullying part, and it got to a point where I couldn't hang out no more. After I did my set, I would just leave or go to another place and do another set, or I'd go home. I just couldn't hang out no more because the energy and the vibe just wasn't for me, you know. And plus, by that point, I was in my early 30s, and I just didn't feel the same as I did in my 20s when I started, you know. It was pretty much like that.
I get it. Like I said, I had a similar situation where the gigs were less frequent. It was difficult for me to stop school and go and travel and come back, and the late nights, and it was difficult. So sometimes you just got to move on, and other times you just got to find another way around it if that's what you want to keep doing.
Mm-hmm. When did you move to LA to focus on acting?
Well, I would say in about 2002, and that was 2002, 2003 was when I got here. I think that's about it. I'm just trying to think of the time frame and get it correctly. And I wasn't even focusing on acting then. I was just here because I thought, well, if I do go back to stand-up, then maybe LA would be a good location to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have a specific plan to do that at the time. Before that, I was doing some sketch. I was doing some theater, doing some voiceover, and just doing a bunch of miscellaneous performing. and a variety of things. And I just kind of popped over to LA thinking, maybe I'll continue and just see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I must admit I've never heard or seen, or actually I should say I haven't heard or seen of anything you've been in, except I have heard briefly about channel surfing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, channel surfing were the sketches that I created, and I did them live, and then I filmed them with a high-quality production, meaning I had a full crew of anywhere from 25 to 40 people and locations, and full makeup, wardrobe, and I say that because a lot of people, it's easy to put together videos. A lot of people can do it. It doesn't take much, and you can upload it. Mm-hmm. So that when people do take the time to go to my channel, that they know from what they see that I've put in a massive amount of work, not only in the filming, but also in the post-editing. I have a full restructuring of the sound, of the special effects, and anything related to make it the best quality that I possibly could. Mm-hmm. And then I put together some events. There were fundraiser screenings called Comedy Kills Cancer, or Comedy Cures Cancer, or Comedy Crushes Cancer. Each time I did a little bit different. And I raised money for different cancer organizations while, then I screened the videos and people donated money to these cancer organizations. So that's how people heard about the videos, and people generally find them funny. So, which is a good thing because they're supposed to be funny.
Mm-hmm. How many episodes did you do?
Well, it's a little different because I did sketch, so I have about 19 different sketches. Average of 2.5 minutes long. There are a few that are shorter. I have 20, 30-second sketches, 4 2.5-minute news parodies, some remix versions, some longer and shorter versions. So it's a total of about 60 minutes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
When did you first get diagnosed with cancer?
September of 2007.
Wow, so it's 12 years?
Yeah. And what I did was, when I recovered in about 2012, that's when I didn't have enough energy to really do much else as far as, taking acting classes or doing theater, but I could organize in my room on my own and have plenty of time so that I could put together some videos, and that's what I did for the next 5 years. I produced those videos because I had enough time, and I still wasn't working, so still in recovery mode, and that's what I did. And I put that together, and once it was done, created events, raised money for other people going through cancer, because I know what it has been like, and that's the story behind it.
God, so you had it for 5 years. I mean, that God must have been hell. I mean, did you ever think, I'm not going to make it?
No, not necessarily. There were times that were rough because it wasn't just the going through it, it was the recovery of it. And the best way I describe it to people so that they can kind of get an idea, most people have had that really bad cold. That cold or flu or whatever it is, where you're just out of it for like 5 to 7 days, and you just feel awful and you can't do anything, and then you get better, but you're not quite fully better. It almost takes like another month or a month and a half, and you still go to work, and you still do stuff, but you just don't quite feel 100% yourself. That's what it's like. That's what going through cancer is like.
Yeah.
Imagine being sick for a year and 9 months and feeling that way for another year and 9 months, and then kind of just getting back to real life for another year and 9 months. And in addition to that, having the possibility of not recovering and dying, and all the financial difficulties. In addition to that, the emotional aspects and the challenges that go along that, including how other people around you are handling it or not handling it. And you put that all together, and that's what it's like.
Wow, God, yeah. I mean, cancer runs on my dad's side of the family, and it's so terrible. I mean, there's so much debate on where it comes from and how you get it. It's terrifying, and it doesn't seem like, those scientists are really interested in finding the cure for it.
It's an epidemic. There are plenty of conversations about what causes it. There are plenty of theories on natural cures. But whatever the truth is, the general public doesn't have it, or if we have it, we don't know what it is, so we just have to deal with it the best we can.
Was yours genetic?
Well, there are several people in my family who have had cancer, but not the type that I had, so it's really hard to say.
Mm-hmm. But you're healthy now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm good now. Crazy, sexy, cool, moving forward, but, there's still the repercussions of such a lengthy situation, such an extended recovery. It's the way that I best describe it is when you take a small stone and throw it in the water,
Mm-hmm.
it's like to have a cold or flu. Like if there's a small pond and you throw a small stone in there and it splashes a little bit.
Right.
Having cancer is like taking a boulder and throwing it into that small pond.
Mm-hmm.
The initial repercussions and the initial difficulties are that massive splashing. And then the rest of the time are those waves that just keep coming back and forth, those ripples that keep happening, and it just seems like those ripples are infinite, and that's what it's like to go through it.
Wow. God. Did you go through chemo too?
Yes, I did, and that was incredibly tough, and even today I still have the side effects, the challenges that go along with poisoning yourself in order to rid yourself of a poison. And there are certain ways of doing your best to detox and get better and recover, and there's so much information, what is accurate, what is the best way, what is the most efficient way. I just did what I could, and here I am today, so not too shabby.
Yes, I have to say you're truly blessed that you're here today, Paul.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I survived a car crash 4 years ago, and I spent 30 days in a coma.
Wow.
Yeah,
30 days. Wow.
30 days, and I woke up on my mom's birthday, and last week was the 4-year anniversary of it, and as of today, 401 episodes of this podcast. I'm just so lucky.
Wow. Well, hopefully people listening to this will drive more safely.
Yeah. or don't drive under the influence. That's
one or the other or both. Yeah.
That's where it stems from. Yeah, and stuff. But yeah, I'm so lucky that because I wouldn't be doing this right now if it hadn't happened. I'd still be drinking, or I'd be dead or something. But I got a second chance, and I'm doing good with it.
Yeah, and oftentimes when you're faced with adversity or a situation like that, it can cause you to go in a different direction, and maybe that direction the situation that causes it could be incredibly difficult and challenging, but the new direction you're going has potential to be more positive and productive and healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Paul, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk today.
Absolutely, buddy, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to hear, first of all, that you're taking your situation and your recovery from that to a positive direction and doing this and chatting with people that have the potential to inspire others to make a positive change or continue to do great things.
Mm-hmm. You're pretty inspiring too, Paul. Thank you so much. I appreciate
you saying that, and I'm confident that your story, my story, and many others, when we share them with transparency and honesty, people hear it and maybe they'll be able to make some decisions that will positively affect themselves without having to go through some of the drama or trauma that we've experienced.
Amen to that. Thank you, Paul.
Into that, brother.
Thank you, Paul.
Pleasure, buddy. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And yes, you have yourself a great night.
You as well. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Paul Lauden. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, Paul. You are truly inspiring and lucky that you have survived all that in your life and stuff. It's always good to meet another fellow comic. Even though you're not a comic anymore, it's good to talk a little bit about stand-up comedy. And I'm glad that you're healthy and doing so much better. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!